going on, guys? Me, Commanderkase here, and I actually am gonna do something a little bit different. I wanted to try out. For those of you who don't know, I have been a big fan of Star Wars since, shoot, I don't know how long. It's been basically my whole life. I grew up watching the original trilogy, became a fan of the prequels, and it's still been a big part of my life throughout just my whole life. And we have a brand new trailer from the Rise of Skywalker. But I wanted to give my impressions of it. I've seen it about 4 or 5 times now, but I just wanted to get my thoughts on it and just kind of share my thoughts on it. But I also wanted to focus on a specific few parts of this trailer. I wanted to look at the ships. For one of the big problems that I've had personally with the new trilogy is the lack of ship variety. If you look back at the prequel trilogy for, like, being the biggest case for where I'm coming from with this. If you look at the prequel trilogy, and you get a wide variety of ships, ranging from the Venator, which is the main capital ship of the Republic, to the Acclamator, which is like a troop carrier slash like escort frigate essentially for the Republic. For the Separatist side, you got Lucrehulks, you've got Sovereign class, this wide variety of ships and fighters, and the cool thing about it was you could easily see how it transitions into the original trilogy. So like a Venator, you could easily see it transitioning from a Republic era ship into the Imperial Star Destroyer. My big problem with this trilogy is we don't have a lot of ships. This trailer fixes that quite a bit with possibly one of the largest fleets we will ever see in Star Wars. I think it will rival the Battle of Coruscant, which you saw briefly at the beginning of Revenge of the Sith. But I just wanted to specifically highlight the ships and kind of give a little background onto what type of ships these are. There's a wide variety of ships, and I just want to inform people on what they are and what each of those ships' strengths and weaknesses are, so that when we go into this battle, that we will for sure get, because we see at least some parts of it in this trailer, you will understand what the strengths are of each side and what the weaknesses are of each side. But before we get to that, let's just go ahead and rewatch this trailer, shall we? And there we go. And let us just sit back and enjoy. Curious if this is going to be
an instinct.
Endor or Yavin. Great transition there.
A feeling. The Force brought us together. We're not alone. Good people will fight if we lead them.
Alright, so right here, we have Poe's new X-Wing. So Poe has a new X-Wing, because for those who don't remember, in The Last Jedi, Poe's X-Wing got blown to smithereens by Kylo Ren pretty early on when Kylo Ren and his 2 TIE pilots with him fired directly into the hangar and just blew all the fighters to smithereens. So Poe has a new X-Wing, and it's got a new paint job, actually. We've got the orange and white paint job versus his black and orange paint job, so that's cool. And right here, let me rewind it a little bit. This has to be the Tantive 4. It's got the same paint job. If you look right here, it's got the same outer ring. And the Tantive 4 is, for Star Wars fans, literally the very first thing you see in A New Hope. It is the very first ship we have ever seen in Star Wars, and it's a pretty versatile ship, actually. For those of you who don't know, it is a Corellian CR-90, and its main job was to be a blockade runner, which is why it got the nickname the Rebel Blockade Runner. And its main job for the Rebellion, aside from running blockades, was protecting the larger ships in the fleet from fighters. So basically, it has a series of laser cannons along the kind of like the bow of the ship that were specifically designed to shoot down fighters and protect the rest of the fleet. It also is incredibly quick due to the fact of being a blockade runner, and it also was along with the versatility of it, it has flexibility as well. Its main guns that it has can be subbed in and out. So, for example, when you see it in A New Hope, it is outfitted with specifically turbo lasers, which are designed to attack capital ships. Those guns can be taken off and replaced with more laser cannons, sensor arrays, just basically whatever the ship needs for its job. But yeah, so this is my best guess at Tantive 4, and it also has some pretty interesting narrative implications potentially, because this was the ship owned by Bail Organa, who had direct ties and interactions with Anakin, Obi-Wan, Yoda, and I'm mainly talking about through like the Clone Wars series and a little bit with episode 3. There were some interactions there with Bail saving Yoda, and then them meeting up with Obi-Wan on board the Tantive 4, and then eventually it became the kind of diplomatic vessel for Leia when she was the representative of Alderaan. So there's a lot of interesting implications for what this ship could be for the story. I don't think it'll play a big role, but I feel like it might have something on board that might help kickstart the story and why they're going to these different locations where the Death Star ruins are. I don't know for sure, but that's my best guess. But anyways, let's continue.
People keep telling me they know me. No one does.
Great shots of Rey and Kylo
I do.
on board the Death Star ruins. So here we get possibly one of the most interesting things I've seen. So if you look right here, you do have this little outpost right here, and then the tie's coming. I'm not sure what this is. It looks like essentially a glacier out in space, because you obviously got the stars in the background. I thought this was water at first, and I thought was kind of losing it for a second, but this is really interesting to see. There might be something in the First Order. Obviously, the Force Order is coming here for some reason, but there might be something specific that we're looking for here. But anyway, it's kind of hopping back to the Death Star ruins. Going back here. Everyone's best guess for where this is best guess is this is going to be happening on Endor, with the Death Star ruins having fallen from orbit into the planet itself and into the ocean. And I would gladly go back to any of the original trilogy planets, and especially Endor, because that was the big cap off for the original trilogy. So it being one of the big cap offs for this new trilogy would be kind of a fun, and like George Lucas says, like the trilogies are like a poem. The stanzas rhyme, so it would be a cool little like tie back to one of the previous stanzas of this arc. So continuing.
Telling me they know me. No one does.
But I do.
So this is really cool. Sorry, I'm kind of just skirting through this. So this design for Palpatine's new throne is actually derived from Ralph McQuarrie's original design for what the Emperor's throne would look like. So it's really cool to see them tying everything back to literally the first designs of Star Wars. JJ, one thing I do respect a lot from JJ is he respects Star Wars in a very unique and cool way. Star Wars has this very intricate and cool history to it, and to see him kind of honor that is very cool. So let's rewind it really quick so we can hear Lord the Emperor himself.
Long have I waited.
And here we see the ISD, like an Imperial Star Destroyer. Yeah, so obviously everyone knows what an Imperial Star Destroyer is from the original trilogy. These things especially the disc version of it, the ISD-1, these things are terrifying for any normal, like, just in general. If you were to go up against an ISD, you're in trouble. They've got a decent fighter complement. They've got a lot of, like, at least I think it's around 1 or 2 squadrons of TIE fighters, which main goal is like swarm tactics. So if you have a lot of TIEs, that's perfect. So that was its main defense against fighters. It doesn't really have great defense against smaller ships or fighters, which is why the Rebellion used so many different variants on fighters and bombers, like hit and run tactics, basically. But with the ISD, it is very powerful and can be very precise if put in the right command. It is known for being able to just use orbital bombardment to take out precision targets from orbits, just very quickly and very precisely. And it's got a lot of firepower, or the bear. In a it's a big ship, but in comparison to some of the other ships like the ISD-2, some of the Mon Cala ships, it's not super big, but it has a lot of a very big punch to it. So the fact that Palpatine has a large fleet of ISDs is very scary for the Resistance, and even the First Order. The First Order has a good amount of ships in what we've seen, but with especially the main flagship of the First Order being destroyed in the last movie, that is this fleet that Palpatine has put together is very scary. It's not very versatile, though. So when we see the Resistance fleet in a little bit, the Resistance has basically all of its bases covered versus a fleet that is powerful but not very versatile. So we'll continue. And here's the shot that I wanted to talk about. This fleet is crazy. So we have a ridiculous amount of ships from every era of Star Wars that we have seen. We've got stuff from Clone Wars, we have stuff from the original trilogy, stuff from the new trilogy, and stuff from some of the animated series, which I'm very excited about. So we'll just kind of go through, and I will try and pick out as much as I can. And there's just so much in here. So to start, obviously we have the Millennium Falcon. The Millennium Falcon, being in the hands of Rey and Chewie, obviously it's going to be a big part of this movie. So obviously we've got the Falcon, but the one that sticks out to me, and honestly is my favorite ship in all of Star Wars, is the Ghost. The Ghost is right here. And for those of you who don't know what the Ghost is the main ship from Star Wars Rebels. It is essentially, it plays a similar role to the Millennium Falcon, where it is a freighter used mainly for like as a fighter, like in a lead ship in a fleet, kind of like the tip of the spear for Phoenix Squadron, and it was good for blockade running and stuff. But the fact that it is here in this moment makes me so excited, because it is literally tying the animated series into Star Wars, the main movies, and it makes me so excited. So right behind it we have a Nebulon B, just a classic original trilogy ship. We might need to rewind a little bit so we can see everything. Next up, we have a Hammerhead Corvette, which we saw in Rogue One. It was the ship that rammed into a Imperial Star Destroyer to kind of help them kind of move away the fleet and kind of make some openings. So it's good to see that this ship right here is back. And also it kind of, for those of you who don't know, there was a Star Wars game from a while back called Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, and this was a ship from the Old Republic, and it's good to see that design has survived all this time, and it's made its way to this movie. So right here, this tiny ship right here, it looks like it's a design for a ship called the Halo. The Halo made its appearance in a few episodes of the Clone Wars, and it was used by bounty hunters, actually. It was essentially like a clone gunship for bounty hunters. And actually the Wookiees used it a couple times. Like they hired the ship so they could use it to go and do stuff. So it was interesting to see that the Halo has made its way into this battle. Let's see, what else? So this ship right here, it looks like it might be a similar ship to the shoot, what was it called? It looks similar to the ship that Admiral Raddus is using in Rogue One. And so one thing that also I want to mention with this fleet right here, a lot of the ships that you saw in Rogue One, you probably will see in this movie due to the fact that they already have the models ready after completing Rogue One. So a lot of the ships that you saw in Rogue One, you'll probably see in this movie as well. So yeah, so we got a CR-75, which is a pretty solid and versatile ship. It was kind of, think like a long-range artillery type of thing and command ship. Since it is of Mon Cal design, the Mon Cala which is what Admiral Akbar is, were a very versatile ship with ship design, and they were really good at building ships with incredible shielding, hull integrity, and sensor arrays. So it's good to see that the Mon Cal had made their way into this battle as well. We'll rewind it. I'm not sure what this ship is. There's a few ships in here that I'm very excited to see. Right here, I believe this is a Hammerhead Corvette. Oh, not Hammerhead. Bunker Buster. And we saw these in The Last Jedi, and they kind of operate as a heavy frigate to protect the fleet. Right here, we have a Jedi Counselor ship. So this made its appearance in The Phantom Menace. And this was the ship that Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan were on when it got blown up. And so it's very interesting to see that we now have this ship making its way back into the mix. And it mainly was used as a diplomatic ship, but it can be used as a kind of in a similar role that the CR-90 I talked about earlier was, which was fighter screening. And it can be outfitted with some missile launchers. So that's really interesting to see. Let's see, where else can we go with this? Because there's a lot in this. There's a lot of ships. Right here, we have the U-Wing back, which is really cool to see from Rogue One. U-Wings were mainly used as drop ships. It was like the equivalent of like a clone gunship for the Rebellion. But it's interesting to see that we got some U-Wings back. This big ship right here, actually, it looks like a Quasar Heavy Freighter? Like a Quasar, no, not Heavy Freighter, Quasar Heavy Carrier, or Fire Carrier. And but it's actually Han's freighter that he used in The Last Jedi. It was the ship that the Rathars were on in this, so that was really cool. It's cool to see that this ship has made its way back into the story. We've got a lot. We've got so many ships in this, and it makes me very excited. Somewhere over here, I was watching a video about this earlier, and I wanted to kind of just talk about it. Somewhere in here, I think maybe this is what they're talking about, but I'm not 100% sure. This might be a Pelta. The Peltas were Clone Wars era ships that were used as kind of like medical frigates. So making sure that they have a safe, use those ships to safely protect units or troops that got hurt on the battlefield and get them to a medical station. There was a little mini arc there was an arc with a ship called the Malevolence that General Grievous was using, and he was trying to attack a medical facility, and you see a lot of Peltas. And I can't exactly figure out where the Pelta is in this shot. I'll have to look for it later. But yeah, so there's a Pelta somewhere in here. Where else can we go with this? There's a lot here. In the background, you do see some more Mon Cala ships, MC-80s, it was what it looks like, and it looks like this is the Liberty variant, or actually looking at it closer, I do know that we do have some MC-80s in here. So whether it be the Hull 1 type, which is the command ship that Admiral Akbar used in Return of the Jedi, or it be a Liberty class, which is the MC-80s that have some wings, looks like they have wings. So hold on, let me pull up a Liberty class, Mon Cala cruiser. So yeah, so here's the difference between a Liberty and just a Home 1 type. So here's the Liberty type. You see that it has the wings essentially right here. Come on, load up real quick. Yeah, you can see that it has wing, kind of like a wing shape to it. And these ships, you can see like the different little bulbs on here. Some of the larger bulbs are actually shield generators, which is what made these ships so tough for the Empire. to fight, due to the fact that these things can take a hit and just it doesn't have great firepower, but that's not the point of a rebel fleet. With the rebel fleet, the rebel fleet was meant for hit and run tactics, and this was one of the first big ships that they had for a really long time, and it was like their main capital ship for a while. And I will show a home one real quick. Home one. Yeah, the home one was more streamlined, and tougher, and it was mainly used as like the main capital ship for and command ship for the rebels. So we have a couple of those hidden in the background here, which is really cool. I'm looking closer at this. This looks like a Star Destroyer. It might be an Acclamator, which makes me really excited, because that's one of the ships I want in this movie. At least like in like a brief shot, I would love to see an Acclamator. Acclamators were like the troop transports for Republic. I would love to see any old, like Republic era ships from like the Clone Wars. That would be cool. There's a couple other ships that I need to point out. Sorry, this is going a lot longer than I thought it would be, but I wanted to just kind of go through this, and we're like not even done with this trailer. Right here we have a Resistance bomber that we saw in The Last Jedi, which is really cool. Let's see, let's see, I'm going to rewind it. There's another ship in here that made its appearance in, right here. So right here, this is a command ship from, it looks like the command ship from Star Wars Rebels that Captain Sato used. So it's interesting that we're getting some ties back to the original trilogy. Well, not really, like original trilogy Rebels era. So it's cool to see that we got another kind of Corellian style ship. Kind of like the CR-90. This is just a bigger version of the CR-90 is what this is. And right here we have a Braha'tak gunship. So the Braha'tak gunship is a weird ship in canon. Its only on-screen appearance for a variant, and its only on-screen appearance aside from this was in a very brief shot in Return of the Jedi with the Rebel fleet. You have Lando and those fighters kind of flying about the Rebel fleet. So it's interesting that we get a good look at the Braha'tak gunship right here. And its main goal was, it's kind of similar fighter screening, but it also has a decent amount of firepower, so it could take on capital ships in a very minor capacity, like taking out precision targets on a ship. Yeah, so it's interesting. So we do have some we do have some good variety with this Resistance fleet here, with a large variety of ships who can fill a variety of roles. There's a lot of escort craft, a lot of fighter support, and large variety of ships, and there's a lot of ships here. With the amount of firepower they're going to bring to bear in this battle, this is going to be possibly the largest battle we have ever seen in Star Wars. With this being the capstone for the Skywalker saga, this is going to be a ending that of the caliber of what we saw in the MCU with the final battle in Endgame. Now, obviously with Star Wars, it's not going to be like as personal where you have like specific characters being there, but you have elements of every single trilogy, every single part of canon being part of this battle, which is really exciting to me and makes me really curious to see what we're going to do with this. But yeah, so this is the fleet comp. This is a very good fleet, but my one concern for this battle is what's going to happen when the fighting starts, because they're all bunched up right now. There is not a lot of space to move. Thankfully, a lot of these ships have great maneuverability and can get out and move quickly. So that's good. And also, I think I might know what this ship is right here. This might be a GR-75, and it's possibly the worst ship you can have. For whatever reason, the Rebellion kept bringing these things into battle, and it was a part of their fleets. It's got no weapons, it has hardly any shields, and it carries cargo. It's literally all it does, and people have tried brainstorming a reason for why these things are always part of Rebel fleets in the original trilogy, but the only reason we can really give is like maybe it's carrying like supplies and fuel for fighters and stuff. But there's really no good excuse for this thing to ever be brought into combat, so I just kind of have to laugh that we have another one of these GR-75s right in the middle of possibly the greatest battle we're about to see, or one of the largest battles we will ever see in Star Wars. So, we've covered the fleet as much as I can. There's a few more ships that pop up in this trailer that I want to point out. But yeah, so let's continue this trailer.
You're coming together.
Good to see all of the crew back together. It was good that we had them separated last movie for character growth, obviously, but we've got great, like, John Boyega and Daisy Ridley have such great chemistry together, like when they're on screen, and we haven't had really any interactions between Poe and Rey at all. We had like a brief like hello in Last Jedi, but it'll be good to see some character interaction between those two. Battle
Is your undoing.
So this, so it looks like Rey's going out to the Death Star, or remains, and this ship kind of reminds me of the like the skiffs that we saw in The Last Jedi on Crate, just kind of like speeder things, but this looks like a water variant.
What are you doing there, 3PO?
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
This is going to be such a sad scene. There's already talks that they're trying to get Oscar push for Anthony Daniels in his role of C-3PO in this movie. And be really cool to see him get that. He's been a part of Star Wars and for a very long time, and he deserves all the recognition that he's going to get for this movie. He's been a big advocate for Star Wars for a very long time. So when there was the Dark Age for Star Wars between the original trilogy and the prequels, he was one of the big people that was still going to like conventions and stuff in support of Star Wars, and he's been a very big advocate. So all the work that he's put into Star Wars and how much heart and effort he has put into this is very cool to see. It's going to be very sad to figure out what's going to happen with 3PO here. One thing that people are theorizing with 3PO is, so he's saying, I'm going to have one last look. I'm taking one last look at my friends. People are theorizing that, and we've seen some images of this new character. Let me rewind really quick. Right here. This new character right here has a data disk that may have something to do with kind of potentially connecting to C-3PO's memories before the memory wipes that he's had. So this may reset him from his state where he knows Rey, Poe, Finn, back to potentially whatever point he was at before the mind wipe. And this also, we do know this little guy. I forget his name, but he's supposed to be one of the best droid mechanics in the galaxy, and he's looking like he's trying to kind of tap into C-3PO, potentially get back to those old memories. So any connection that we can get to the prequels would be great for me. To see. And I do know later in this trailer, I think like right here, yeah, we do have a B-1 battle droid right here. So that's cool, little Easter egg. So let's keep going.
Taking one last look, sir. At my friends.
Confronting fear is the destiny of a Jedi.
And that's a fantastic line from Mark Hamill and Luke with it's the destiny of a Jedi to confront fear. It's something that the Jedi struggled with in the prequels, where they were kind of blinded by their fear and stuff, and kind of got complacent. And that's why the Palpatine and the Empire rose with the kind of blindness and fear of the Sith and the unknown. So, and also this is a great character progression for Luke, where he went from being afraid of Ben and confronting him in The Last Jedi to understanding it's the Jedi's role to step up and confront fear wherever it may be. So it's cool to see Luke, who now is one with the Force, fully understand the role that the Jedi were supposed to play. They were supposed to be keepers of the peace and protectors of the innocent and the downtrodden. So it's cool to see Luke have that. And there's BB-8. He's back, buddy. Hey, little guy. And we got Lando back. I'm curious to see what is going on here, because we got a brand new weapon at the bottom of this ISD. And we got the Y-Wing back, so great to see Y-Wings back. But I'm curious to see what this weapon is. It looks like a turbo laser, just kind of outfitted on the bottom, and we've not seen that before on a ISD. This is typically where the hangar would be. We also do have what appears to be some escort craft for the Empire. The only escort craft I can really think of for the Empire that they really have are like our Quintons, which are basically like mini Star Destroyers that were used during the Republic, by the Republic and eventually by the Empire, but it's not the right shape. The only other escort craft I can think of that I don't think is canon, but is a fan favorite, is the Dreadnought Heavy Cruiser, which is essentially, here, I'll pull up a picture of it. Dreadnought Heavy Cruiser. So this ship is very versatile. It's the right shape from what I've seen, like I saw in this trailer, because if you look at this ship, it's kind of like just like a little line. It was a very thin ship, but it could be outfitted with ion cannons, turbo lasers, laser cannons. It was used by the Rebellion and the Empire to great degrees in the old EU. So we can get this Dreadnought Heavy Cruiser back. This would be great to see that such a fan favorite ship is back. And also, for those who don't know the difference between a Imperial 1 and Imperial 2, if you look right here, you can see the larger bridge on the ISD. They completely got rid of that for the ISD 2, just because how exposed the bridge was. Regardless, the bridge is pretty exposed on an ISD 2 as well, as you saw with when you have an A-Wing fly straight into it in Return of the Jedi. But we also have we got TIE Fighter. We have a couple of TIEs. So here is something very interesting. You actually have them on the surface of a Star Destroyer fighting. Also, BB-8 is not with Poe, and I'm kind of surprised by that. I'm a little worried about Poe, whether or not if he's like flying in this battle, or if but if he's flying, why doesn't he have his little droid with him, his little wingman? So I'm a little nervous about that. Anyways, it's interesting they're fighting on the surface of a Star Destroyer. We have them in Emperor's Throne Room. Here's something interesting with this. I can't tell if they're working together or they're fighting each other, because if you look right here, he's reaching out for whatever this is. This looks like the stand that he had for Darth Vader's helmet, and I don't even know where this is. With these little bulb light things, that it gives me Imperial vibes, but at the same time, it's so white. It's nothing that we've really seen with the Empire, because usually the Empire has typically very gray kind of tones to it. So yeah, I don't know what this is, but also we have Rey with a dagger right here, and I'm very curious to see what the implications for this dagger are. The only other dagger I can think of in canon that had any significance, and it does not match this design at all, so it can't be that, is the dagger that the Son used in the Mortis arc of the Clone Wars to kill his sister. And for those of you who don't know what the Mortis arc is, very complicated. Basically, Obi-Wan, Anakin, and his apprentice, Ahsoka, end up on this planet. that is very in tune with the Force. Met 3 beings there: the Father, the Son, the Daughter. Daughter was the embodiment of the light. Son was the embodiment of the dark, and the Father was the embodiment of kind of the balance of the Force. The Son uses a dagger to kill the Daughter, but it does not match his design. So I'm very curious to learn what this dagger is and what implications it might have for the story. So I'm very curious to see what we get with this. So right here we got the, I was going to pause, we'll pause again for a second. So right here, we got a brand new TIE fighter, and I forget what it's called, but it's got a triangular wing basically. I'm actually, here, I'll look it up on my phone so we don't have to, look up, pull up a new page. Let's see, new TIE fighter. Let's see, new TIE fighter. Let's see. It is called the TIE Dagger. So we got triangular wings with this brand new TIE fighter. So I'm very curious to see this is going to kind of fill the role of a TIE Interceptor from the original trilogy, which was just kind of its job was to hunt down fighters and take them out. Right here, this is the scene I was trying to pause on. One thing that I was watching an analysis video of this last night, and someone noticed that if you look in the reflections of Poe and Finn's eyes, you do see a lightsaber. But you do have that hologram look to it. So this could potentially be them watching a hologram of something like a Jedi in the past. Whether it be it'd be really cool if they were watching a hologram of Anakin. Order 66, or of some significant Jedi from the past, whether it be Obi-Wan or Anakin. But we do have that implication that they found something tying back to the Jedi in some capacity. So it'll be really cool to see what comes from this scene. Yeah, so we got TIE daggers right here, and then we got an X-wing, and right here we got a B-wing. Which is really cool to see. We got the B-wings back, and I believe these are First Order transports right here, dropping troops onto the Star Destroyer. I don't know what side First Order is going to be on in this. Obviously, they're a continuation of what the Empire was. I don't know where their loyalties are going to lie in this, because Palpatine is the greatest threat the galaxy will ever see, and has ever seen. He is the pretty much one of the purest embodiments of the dark side that you can get, and he literally, in canon, believed that he had this operation called Operation Cinder, and you can read about it in the Aftermath trilogy, and you get to see it in some of the comic books and in the Star Wars Battlefront 2 campaign. Operation Cinder's goal was basically, his belief was, if an empire can't protect its emperor, it does not deserve to exist. So his goal was to burn away any disloyalty or any resemblance of resistance, rebellion, hope. So he wanted to burn away all the weakest parts of the Empire, and I don't know if he's going to consider the First Order to be a pure embodiment of what he wanted. So Palpatine might just straight go after everybody. It doesn't matter to him, because the Empire fell. He sees that the New Republic's gone, basically. There's probably some remnants of its fleet somewhere, but the main government's gone. The First Order's sweeping through, and it's now lost its leadership. So now all of them are on their back foot with the Resistance and the First Order, because they lost their main fleet. The First Order lost its main fleet. The New Republic's lost its main fleet. The First Order's lost its leader in Snoke. The Resistance has lost... Well, the Republic has lost all of its leadership with the destruction of Hosnian Prime. And so now both of them are kind of on their back foot, and Palpatine now can sweep in and try and take over. So, and we've seen how unstable Kylo is, so he's not a great leader. The Resistance is probably your best shot of taking down Palpatine, but it's going to be interesting to see where the First Order's loyalty lies with this movie, because you could have them be loyal to the Emperor, and Kylo has to forcibly kind of rejoin Rey and fight Palpatine, because he realizes potentially how dark he is, or realizes he's not strong enough to fight him. Or if they're gonna help the Resistance try and fight off Palpatine in this the word I'm gonna use is Dark Empire, just because of the story that Palpatine hid away his fleets in. So it's gonna be interesting to see if the First Order and Resistance team up to fight the Dark Empire, this new Dark Empire, and Palpatine. So I don't know, and here we got a great shot of Kylo. And right here is the shot. We've got Palpatine in some type of apparatus confronting Rey, and it looks like it might be like on an ice planet or something. Maybe where we saw that Star Destroyer kind of emerge through the ice. People are saying Mecha Palpatine. I think this might just be a throne. Like, in all honesty, like, it could be just like a mechanical throne, like him walking around like in this mechanical throne, and will come down. But yeah, if people are saying Mecha Palpatine, I don't fully believe it. But I could see this being like a mechanical throne where he's just kind of risen above Rey and like walking up to her and being like, you are strong with the Force, but you are no match for me, type of thing. I don't know. Anyways, continuing.
The Force will be with you.
Always.
Yeah, that was that's a really good way of ending it, especially with Carrie Fisher's passing, having her say, having her continuing her brother with Luke's line of "May the Force be with you" and her saying "always" is a really good kind of touch to this trailer to say goodbye to her and honor her. Yeah, so basically we're done with this trailer. Yeah, we're done with this trailer. And yeah, so that was the trailer. This brings up a lot of interesting questions, and I'm very excited to see so many ships from the past, like Star Wars past, and just what it could mean for tying together canon. One of the big things that I really enjoy with the new Disney canon is how everything is tied pretty well together, without things overlapping or crossing over, because that was one big problem with the old EU, is like sometimes you had events that were happening at the same time and both different characters were at two different spots at the same point in history when they really shouldn't be. So the fact that Disney has kind of cracked down on that and actually kind of ironed out a lot of the kind of overlapping narrative stuff is really nice to see. So it'll be really cool to see how they tie canon in together with this movie. Especially with like the TV series, the books, the comics. Some things I would love to see in this movie. I would love to see if we could get some ties to the Clone Wars would be great if we could get some ties to the Clone Wars. Especially with Anakin being the chosen one and trying to bring balance to the Force. And Palpatine being back. Freddie Prinze Jr. was just recently on a podcast, and he was the main voice actor for Kanan Jarrus in Star Wars Rebels. He got taught basically why they're like basically Dave Filoni, the director of Rebels, was basically like the protege to George Lucas, and he explained the Force to Dave, and Dave explained the Force to Freddie Prinze Jr. and the rest of the Rebels cast. He talked about how the Force is all about balance, and if you look at the Star Wars series, like the movies from that point of view, you will be able to figure out kind of powerful light, powerful dark, and like who's going to win in each battle. So if you look at the prequels, you'll see that the Jedi are in power. They have the light is overpowering the darkness. Like there's the Force is out of balance at that point. So what does Palpatine do? He in the Force do. They kind of rebalance bring about the game, like rebalance it, and instead of, and with the birth of the Chosen One, the Jedi bring him in, and to kind of rebalance and change the game, and trying to, instead of trying to rebalance everything, Palpatine, instead of killing him, like killing his greatest rival, with the equivalent of his Force. Yeah. Let me go back. Okay. How do I explain this? So, Palpatine, greatest evil the galaxy has ever seen, greatest potential for the dark side, and the Jedi are completely blinded to him. So what does the Force do? The Force gives us Anakin. He's the one supposed to bring balance to the Force and kind of be his Palpatine's counter. The Force kind of, like, in order to balance things out, gives someone to counter him, counter the darkness with the powerful light, powerful dark. So instead of killing Anakin, what does Palpatine do? He brings him in. And so now you have two dark powers in play. And so what does the Force do? It gives us twins with Luke and Leia, to balance that out. And so with that, he's able to bring down Palpatine and what we thought bring balance to the Force. But now we have Palpatine's alive and Anakin's dead. So the Force is going to need to bring a powerful light back into play. And I think maybe we might see Anakin again, whether it be in Force Ghost form or somehow him coming back. I think with how the Force works with bringing about balance, I think we're going to see Anakin again in some capacity, whether it be helping Rey or Ben understand that Palpatine's evil, and that the dark side's not the right path. That would be really cool to have ties with that. So anyways, I would love to see some ties with that. I would love to see some ties to some of the animated series, like Resistance and Rebels. We already have the Ghost there, but I would love to see Hera's son, Hera and Kanan's son, who would probably be about Rey's age at this point, or if not a little older. And both Hera and Kanan were great characters, and to see their son would be awesome in this, if not briefly. With Resistance, I want to see the Colossus. I want to see the main ship of that series, the Colossus, be there. The Colossus literally is just a giant fueling station, but it's so close in timeline to this movie. Like, literally, Resistance is happening at the same time as Force Awakens: The Last Jedi, so for them not to be here would make no sense. So I would love to see that as a tie. I would love to see a tie to what happened with Ezra Bridger and Thrawn. I would love to see the Chimera in this battle. The Chimera is just a Imperial Star Destroyer, but if we can get Thrawn on screen, like, if not briefly, Ezra and Thrawn in this movie, briefly, that'd be so cool. With Ahsoka and Sabine, that'd be awesome. If we could get ties to the video games with, what's her name? Iden's daughter, Iden Versio and Del Mico's daughter, I would love that. With Shriv, that'd be cool. I want to see a representative of every piece of canon, basically, is what I want to see. With Star Wars coming to an end for a little while, I want this to be the biggest, best thing it can possibly be. But, and I think we'll get it. This will be one of the, I hope and pray this is something that can bring Star Wars fans back together. Kind of like what I was talking about earlier with this movie, and with the Star Wars community as a whole. There's been a divide since The Last Jedi, and it's frustrating to watch. Star Wars for a very long time was something that brought people together, and now there's this big divide and tear between the two, like between the fans. People saying that this is, like, the new trilogy is being disrespectful to the original and not honoring what Star Wars really is. And I can kind of understand where they're coming from with that. With Last Jedi, it wasn't great. It wasn't the worst thing possible though. But with all the TV series coming out on Disney Plus, with Obi-Wan, The Mandalorian, Cassian Andor, and with Clone Wars coming back, and with this movie, I think that we are about to enter, hopefully, a new age of Star Wars where the fans are brought back into balance, and that we don't have to worry about all the toxicity of everything that's happened with Star Wars. But with that, I'm sorry this video has gone on a little too long. I am very excited for this movie. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment down below what your thoughts were on this trailer. And if you like this overall, if you want me to do more talk more about Star Wars, let me know. I would love to talk about Star Wars on this channel. It's a little bit different than anything I've ever done on this channel before. I've been thinking about doing a movie channel, like a movie and TV show channel where I break down different stuff. So if you like this, let me know. I might create that second channel and focus on that, because right now it's a little bit tricky trying to record game stuff on my laptop, and I have a PlayStation 4, but I don't have like a capture card or anything for it. But yeah, if you enjoyed this, leave a like down below, and I will see you guys later. Bye, everybody.